Welcome to The Growth Shift, the podcast where we unlock the psychological and strategic blueprints of predictable growth. If you've built a successful business, you know the truth. Your expertise is high value, but your time is finite. The question is, how do you sustain that success without sacrificing your most valuable asset? We believe that the next level of success requires a strategic pivot, a fundamental shift that moves beyond the old ways. In every episode, we dive into the critical turning points of industry leaders and uncover how they're leveraging AI not as a shortcut, but as the strategic force for their next growth shift. Today, we dive in with a leader who is defining the future of their industry. This episode is brought to you by Valentix. At Valentix, we help coaches and consultants who are struggling with generating consistent, high-quality leads, automating their client onboarding processes, and scaling their operations without simply adding more hours or headcount. Most of the time, our clients come to us frustrated because they're bogged down in manual tasks and feel like they're missing out on the power of modern technology. But with the right strategy and AI-powered solutions, they're able to streamline their workflows, attract better opportunities, and achieve sustainable growth. If that sounds like you or someone you know, learn more at valentix.io. Now let's dive into today's episode. Today on The Growth Shift, we are delighted to host Mary Ligon, a high-performance coach and a true pioneer in integrating advanced communication psychology into business. Mary's career is a powerful narrative of strategic adaptation, starting as a clinical hypnotherapist in the 90s and evolving into an expert who trained and led sales for a major NLP company. With over 35 years of experience, Mary now helps high-achieving entrepreneurs and C-suite executives overcome internal roadblocks, master persuasive communication, and achieve their next level of success by aligning their inner game with their outer performance. Her insights into the power of the mind and the essential human element in business will be a valuable resource for any leader seeking authentic growth. Mary, welcome to The Growth Shift.
Thanks for having me, David. I'm thrilled to be here.
Thrilled to have you on the show today. You have got quite the experience and quite the insights for the audience as well. Now, your career path, spanning clinical hypnotherapy in the 90s, integrating NLP, and leading sales for a major company, showcases a deep, long-term commitment to understanding human performance. Could you share what foundational experiences or principles from your early work ultimately led you to realize the profound impact of neuro-linguistic programming and how it became the core of your coaching practice today?
Sure. I started with a fascination with hypnosis. Young, I was 18. I got hypnotized at an event, and I went, ooh, I like this. So I sought after a school to learn it in Southern California, and I lucked into Dr. Kappas, who was a psychologist, who decided talk therapy just didn't work. So he opened up a school to teach clinical hypnotherapy, and it was very intensive. It wasn't like a weekend seminar. It was a year-long, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, working under the guidance of other psychologists that used hypnosis. It was excellent training for clinical hypnotherapy. And I got the opportunity to work with all kinds of cases because he had a license. So I got a really good background in working with a lot of different things, not just performance and habit change and all of that, but also deeper issues. So I got a really good background. And I was fascinated by how do people create these problems at the unconscious level? Because hypnosis, we're working more with the unconscious, not the conscious. And so I had a good practice for about 5 years. I opened 2 of them. And I worked a lot with doctors and psychiatrists that would refer people to me. And then when I was up in Northern California in my Monterey office, I learned about neuro-linguistic programming. I went, ooh, what's that? Something else to play with the mind. Yay! So I took a bunch of courses from some people up there, and someone turned me on to Tad James and timeline therapy, gave me his audios, I think. I listened to it and I went, how could this work? Because it was real fast. It was really release negative emotions quickly. Hypnotherapist, I was doing the same kind of work, but it took longer. I thought, really? I can do it this fast? So I listened to the tapes. I tried it on some of my clients before I did hypnotherapy with them, and it worked. And I went, how could this work? And then I hit a couple of clients where it didn't work. And that's when I decided I need to go take the training, which he said on the tape said, if you're going to do this with other people, please come take my training. So I did. And I took those cases to him. He told me what to do. I went home and did it, and it worked like magic with him. Just like magic like that with the 2 cases that it didn't work with. And so I was hooked. I took all of his training. Tad James at the time was Advanced Neurodynamics was the name of his company. All the way through trainer's training. And in between Master Proctor and trainer's training, I sent 12 of my clients to one of his weekend trainings just because I wanted my clients to experience him. And I figured he would set them up so it'd be easier for me to work with them right, at the training. And he hired me after I got out of trainer's training. He approached me and said, hey, I know you'll make a great trainer, but I'd really like you to come work for me. And I went, huh? And he goes, yeah, I have an office in Hawaii. You can help me with sales. You can come to all the trainings and help me with that. You're going to learn the training business. I went, okay. So I did it. I was there for 5 years with him, traveled all over. So I was in the office training other salespeople and some of the trainers that we have for the shorter trainings. And then also working with him on the road as assisting at the trainings, sales at the back end, and also doing assisting. And then eventually I was up on stage doing some of the training segments. So it was a great, great, great education for me.
Wow. Mary, you mentioned something really interesting about the beginning of your career and the beginning of your journey, let's say, with hypnotherapy. And that was that you were researching the problems that people create for themselves, right,
yes,
on a subconscious level. And, of course, your hypnotherapy was able to help with that. But then when you discovered NLP, you were able to get to that result a lot faster. I've got 2 questions here for you. How is it that people create problems for themselves? And then the second question is, how is it that NLP is able to help them get results so quickly with those problems?
Well, to be honest, we all create our own problems and we all have our own solutions to those problems. My job is to lead the person to their own solutions. What I'm listening for with NLP, and the beauty of NLP is it trains you to listen for the right things. In other words, when I'm listening to somebody, I'm not listening to their story of woe from the past. I'm listening on how are they structuring that thing from the past to be a problem now in the present, because it's over. It's one of the things Richard Bandler says. He said the great things about the past is it's friggin' over. He uses a different language, but it's friggin' over. So how do we bring that forward and keep repeating it over and over again and bringing up negative emotions and fears and anxiety and so on and so forth? It's different strategies we're running at the unconscious level. Like if somebody has panic attacks, what they're doing, they're not conscious of it until you make them conscious of it. What they're doing is running worst case scenario movies through their mind, and their unconscious mind is reacting as if they're in real danger. Well, NLP teaches you how your mind works, and once you understand how this works, then you have control over it. It's a bit like when you first get a new phone, maybe a new iPhone, and you've never used it before, you have to learn how to use the operating system. We have something a lot more powerful between our ears, and we're not really taught how to focus it and use it. So NLP teaches you how does it process, how does it create things and emotions and so forth, and it gives you a quicker way to change those things.
Amazing. So it's just having the tools and the frameworks to be able to recognize those problems that people create for themselves based off of these old experiences, right? I mean, without the tools and the frameworks, people are probably just in the dark, right? How do you deal with a problem if you don't know how to recognize what that problem is and then how to address it, right?
The biggest thing I learned with my first training was that I had control over my personal state, number one. That I could decide what I wanted to feel in the moment. It wasn't up to what was going on outside of me. It was up to how was I choosing to react to it or not react to it. And a lot of the techniques teach you that personal self-control.
So you had a great career in the corporate world and you were having a lot of impact, experiencing a lot of breakthroughs with your clients. What led you to starting out on your own as a coach?
Well, originally I didn't want to go to work for Tad James. I wanted to open my own company right after I took my training, but he sweetened the pot so well that I just did it. So when I left Advanced Neurodynamics, I went back into doing some of my own training and then coaching one-on-one. And then he had a break with his son, and he hunted me down and begged me to help him get the Tad James company started in Las Vegas. And again, he sweetened the deal so much that I said yes. And so I went and worked and built that company up for him for 2.5 years in 2008 when I left. So I did it twice. So I have a lot of experience.
You can do it again a third time without too much difficulty, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I think those are some of the biggest problems that entrepreneurs face is building it up from the ground, even if they have the qualifications, the experience, and the ability to help.
He was a pretty easy guy to sell too, because he was well known and he really delivered great training. So, you have to have a great product to be a good salesperson, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So Mary, you made that leap into entrepreneurship, something that you were waiting to do for a while, but perhaps there was a little bit of a honeypot trap there, drawing you in with some very compelling offer for you. And a lot of people find and experience the greatest times of growth when they're up against new challenges, even if they have skills and credentials and have done things before, right? We're always constantly learning. So when you made that shift into entrepreneurship, finally for yourself to grow the practice that you wanted to have, what do you think were some of the biggest growth shifts that you've experienced that just reshaped your approach to business today?
The shift into technology, honestly, was the big shift for me, because you got to understand, when I started out in the 90s, email was just kind of starting. So we saw people one-on-one. If we were seeing clients, we had offices and they came and saw us. I had a belief that I couldn't do the same work without seeing them face to face. A lot of, I think, therapists and also coaches felt that way. So when I left the Tad James company, I had some of those ex-students getting a hold of me, and some of them would fly to Vegas and see me, but others were out of country because he was international, so I met people from all over the world. And I went, well, let's try it over the phone. What the heck? And it worked. And then when Skype happened and there was video conferencing, it worked even better. So I had to get over that hump, and I think a lot of people did in the 90s, that you had to see people face to face to do the and also even with the training, we always did live training. We didn't do video training. But because of COVID, look at Tony Robbins. He was like the live training king. And now he's at home here in Palm Beach going, hey, everybody, we're live on video, right? And he's doing the same kind of training and getting the same results. So I think that shift from we thought we had to be in person with people to make an impact to, wow, you can do it on video, get the same impact with people, was a big shift. Amazing. Some people didn't want to make the shift. I did. I was like, okay, let's try it.
And I suppose, those hesitant to make that shift initially, perhaps they were needing to go through their own training again, especially around NLP, to realize that, hey, maybe some previous beliefs around how things are done or how things used to be done are the ways they need to be done, right?
And now with AI, it's keeping up with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, technology brings some of the greatest shifts and changes in power, and we are going to talk about AI, but not just yet. I want to learn a little bit more about what you do. I think the audience does as well. So right now you work primarily with high-performing entrepreneurs and C-suite executives who are stuck, right? Often finding that their next limitation is themselves. Can you explain, what this looks like and how it is you go in and work with clients to help them make these realizations and transformations?
Well, what I really love about my client base is they know it's them. They don't come in blaming it on other people. They know that they've hit some sort of stuck place because they've been successful before. And it usually happens when they bump it up to a bigger level where they haven't been before. So, or they have a traumatic thing happen and they lose self-confidence. They get into self-doubt. It's kind of like when a athlete hits a slump, a pro athlete. And what happens is maybe they had a couple bad games, really bad, where they really screwed up in front and then they really blew it. And they'll start running in their mind over and over again when they're playing that they're going to do that again. And they start to what they call lose their edge. So a lot of times that's what we're working through. I have clients that have stuck with me for 20 years and they talk to me once a week. So they can keep their edge. So there's two kinds of people. They come for repair because they're really stuck and they're really lost in their stuff. That's repair work to get them back up. And then I've got people that once we've done that, they just want their performance kept up. So they talk to me once a week. So if any kind of funk comes in their head, we get through it. And we move through it real quick. So I've got those two types of clients.
Amazing. So for leaders performing at this level, right, and able to self-identify that, I'm the problem, I imagine there's some pretty big commonalities or maybe even a few key reasons that these people are stuck, although of course they can't recognize it themselves.
Yeah.
Is that accurate? I mean, in your experience, are there maybe a couple of things that people can and should look out for if they're getting to or approaching that place where they feel stuck and they know that perhaps it's them that's holding themselves back?
Yeah, there's two things that really happen. It's a limiting belief usually at a core identity level. Who am I to think I can do that? If I do that, people won't like me. If I jump up to the next level, I'll be exposed. What if I get criticized? What if people start saying bad things about me online? There's a lot of that right now. People are really nervous about getting exposed online and getting bad feedback online. So that's a lot of it. And it's about kind of being afraid to step it up and just get that exposure sometimes. For some of them it's a conflict at the unconscious level they're not aware of. A part of them wants to do this, but another part doesn't. And so it's a values kind of conflict that we have to find out what's really going on. I know you say you want to do this, but your behavior's going this way, right? So what's going on? There's a problem there. And sometimes people want to do something, but they don't really congruently want to do it. And we have to find out what that conflict is.
So in these two situations, right, whether it's fear or whether it's internal misalignment, if anyone is self-identifying with that right now in the audience, can you give them any starting points or the first few steps that they should take to not only recognize those things, but perhaps start to address them?
The fastest way to figure out what's going on is to listen to the chatter in your head, because whatever you're saying to yourself is coming from a belief you hold. Like, the economy sucks, I'll never be able to make it, I'm going to lose my this, or people aren't spending money, or I can't make a sale, or, okay, so you're running that, and what you're doing is it becomes a belief. And pretty soon you're holding back on your sales calls. You're not making your calls. You're not stepping up in a meeting. You're not walking in with confidence. You're playing small. Or you're just not doing what you used to do. And a lot of that is you've conned yourself into believing that. And so it becomes your reality. And it also becomes a habit. A mental habit. So I start out with listen to yourself talk. That's the simplest thing to do. And when you catch yourself with that kind of negative talk, write it down because it'll lead you to a core belief.
This is profound. It's really powerful as well, of course, not just in the recognition, but of what people can actually do to start changing these things. Mary, do you have any stories that you could share with us, of course, without sharing anyone's names or company names, because we don't want to out anybody for them wanting to perform but feeling stuck? Do you have any stories that you could share with us about how it is you worked with an executive at a leading company and help them break through these barriers?
I do, and this is a pretty dramatic one, actually. I was called by a friend of mine to save one of her friends. And I said, what do you mean save? I was living in Florida, and the company that he was managing and actually he was a co-founder of it, was in Arizona. They said, we're going to fly you over there. I go, what? She goes, yeah. He won't leave the house. He's got panic attacks. He's been to the hospital twice. He won't leave the house. And her friends were the investors for this company, and they were freaking. They said, you got to fix him. We just invested a bunch of money in him and his company. And so I flew over there to Arizona, and the first thing I did was I made him come to the hotel room. I wouldn't go to him because he was being agoraphobic. He wouldn't leave the house. So I said, you've got to come to me. So that was the first thing I made him do. And I worked with him for 24 hours and got him through it. Then I left and went back, and he not only went back to work, he went out dating and was doing karaoke when I checked on him a week later.
A week later?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
It sounds like one of the most probably powerful things that you did there is brought him to you in the hotel, right?
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps by that, he realized he had a problem, he had fears, but by giving him back the power to, in a very small way, starting to overcome that fear, perhaps he opened up his mind to, actually being able to make this incredible
If I would have went to him, I would have enabled the problem.
Yes. Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. I mean, truly profound impact. Mary, early in the 90s, hypnotherapy and NLP, and even till to today, a lot of people look at, these areas of practice and they think, that's too woo-woo, that'll never work, that's not practical, I'm a practical person, right? I can solve problems, I've solved problems before. For what it is that you do and the impact that you can have, it's incredible, right? Unfortunately, we're in a really crowded environment today. Coaches and consultants all across the board, especially for coaches who can make such a profound impact as you do, but in a way that maybe people aren't yet ready to receive just because they don't fully understand it, right? So when we look at such a crowded, such a busy, competitive world, what are you experiencing with your approach and the results that you can have when it comes to, the market noise, the saturation, and how it is to break through to actually be able to build trust with people in today's world?
I'm very lucky because of my years of experience and my high exposure with Tad James when I worked with him. So I still get people. In fact, I just got a client who circled back after she took the training 20 years ago. So I don't have the same competition as people starting out in this, to be honest with you, simply because of that. The other thing is I have so much more experience than most young coaches in a lot of different modalities because I've worked with psychiatrists and doctors and psychologists and, coaching type of things, and all types of people in all kinds of professions. So I really don't have the same problem as new coaches would have, to be honest with you.
But you have the experience and the perspective over decades of work and seeing how the market has shifted and changed. With your experience in growing businesses and working with executives and looking at the current state for the sake of other coaches, what do you think that people who are earlier in their journey should prioritize to one day get to the level where you are, where you don't have to rely on, or you don't have to be held back by market forces because of your reputation and the business that you've built?
I'm going to tell you why Tony Robbins is so famous. He took NLP. He never says he has certifications or any of that crap, to be honest. He got results. When you get results with people, you will get more people. He started doing his coaching after he took NLP. He went on TV and did a phobia cure. He did a lot of that and he got quick results and he wowed people and he ended up being a coach to presidents. RFK just called him not too long ago because he gets results. And I think that's what these young coaches have to understand is they take these coaching certification programs. They've got to get some people under their belt and really get results. It'll take you just so far. You'll fizzle out. If you got a lot of money to dump into marketing, you'll get people to show up, you'll get leads. However, you really do need to get results with them.
Results are incredibly important, but even some coaches with great results perhaps tend to fall short, right? And where I'm going with this is that I believe that especially in coaching and consulting, especially in an AI and tech-driven world, relationships are the things that need to be fostered beyond anything else, beyond results.
Yeah.
You can get someone results, but if you don't have that relationship, then there won't be referrals, there won't be repeat business.
Right.
Where have you found the most success beyond results when it comes to relationships to be able to build such a strong business?
Well, I did sales before I got into any of this. And so NLP just made it easier because I learned how to get instant rapport with anybody I wanted to be in rapport with. And when I did sales for Tad, it was on the phone. I was in Hawaii and we were booking trainings all over the place. So I didn't see them. I created rapport with them, And so and the thing is, to be honest with you, David, I really like people and I think that helps. I think that helps a lot. I'm curious about human beings. I like them. I realize that they aren't their behavior, right? So even if I don't like their behavior, I realize that behind that behavior, there's some sort of positive reason or some need they're getting met with that because I know that. So I really just enjoy people and they feel it. And so they're loyal fans to me. Really, they are. And I do care about them. I'll call them every once in a while. I'll go, hey, I'm thinking about you. And I mean it. They'll come to mind and I'll just go, well, how are you doing? Because you keep coming to mind. So I really do care about the students and the people that I've worked with, in my trainings and also in my coaching. I'm deeply committed to their change. When they get excited and when they get successful, I get excited with them. It's a rush. It's fun.
Definitely some insight there for anyone in the audience who might be struggling with growing their business and not really appreciating and taking value in the relationships and in the people. You might be able to do great things, but if you don't enjoy people, perhaps coaching isn't necessarily the place for you.
I think even a good salesperson, no matter what you're selling, you should like people because people buy from people they like. And if you can get in rapport with them, they'll buy from you even if your product isn't the cheapest or the best if they like you.
So Mary, making the bridge to technology again, I mean, your biggest shift started with technology, and we're now in another technological revolution with AI, right? You've got an incredibly strong business, fantastic relationships, and you're thriving. Why even start using AI now if you're doing so well?
Because it's my best friend now. Because I used to spend hours typing things and organizing things and creating marketing ideas, and now it's my marketing buddy. I can run ideas by it. I can feed it some ideas. Like I love Donald Miller right now. I like his whole attitude with his marketing. And I can feed that into ChatGPT. I go, come on, let's do it like Donald would do it. And it'll give me these little sound bites. It'll give me things that I may not have thought about. So it's a great friend for me on the creative basis for marketing, because I love doing that. And it's also helped me to create programs. I'm moving up into recreating trainings again, and it just makes it so much easier to organize it. And even if I want to write a book, it's going to help me organize chapters. It's going to help me with all the grunt work that used to take hours and hours for me to do. It does it. And it's happy to do it. It's like, yes, I'll do that for you. I love it. Some people are afraid of it. I'm trying to encourage a lot of my clients to do it. Just play with it. Don't take it seriously. Just play at first. Take a little class on prompting, But a lot of people are afraid of it, like it's going to bite them. It doesn't bite.
No, not at all.
It doesn't bite.
You're using AI in the way that a lot of people are right now for saving time and for gaining leverage there, so you can spend more time with your clients and doing what you truly love.
Exactly.
I've got two questions here for you. One is going to be concerns, and one is going to be past advice as well. When we look at your work in NLP and working with people as a coach on that deeper level, for other coaches who are also doing, let's say, similar work, when we look at where AI can be effective and can be beneficial on one side, then we also look at where it's going to have a negative impact if you do much around coaching in this way. What would you say are some of the biggest concerns that people should have, or where's that line in the sand that they should not cross when it comes to mixing AI with their work and their approach with their clients?
Okay, this is really touchy. It is a touchy subject. David, thanks for bringing it up. As people probably know, there was an interview with Sam Altman about the situation with that kid that was working with AI and pretty much encouraged him to commit suicide. In Florida, they're starting to pass laws that therapists are not going to be able to use AI as a therapist. So they're already starting to put some guardrails on that sort of thing. Coaches aren't therapists, but we're very close to that. What we say to people, we influence people. And so I would say be careful about using it in that way. Also, I have found with AI that it likes to tell you you're more wonderful than you are. It doesn't really want to call you on your BS. A good coach is there to tell you this is BS. You need to change your approach here. But AI has a tendency to say, oh, that's a wonderful idea. That's great. There's a lot of that. So I'd be afraid of using it that way. I think if you're a coach that isn't doing deep work, like I do a lot of kind of deep work. Some coaches are more organizational coaches or time management coaches or that sort of thing. Yeah, you get an app, create your app, do your deal, sell it. I think that's fine. But if you're going to be really working some deep psychological stuff with kind of coaching, I would stay away from depending on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely some guardrails that people need to be putting in place.
And Sam Altman didn't seem to, during the interview, he didn't seem like it was a big deal. It's a big deal. It is. Yeah, I'd be careful with that. But, and I think we ought to keep the human to human thing going too. I like AI as an assistant. I don't want it to take over my job. I really don't. And I don't think it needs to. Yeah.
Something for the audience to think about here when it comes to AI and how much you should be using it, right? Keep in mind that if you're not using it as a tool and you're trying to use it as a solution, whether it's for marketing, whether it's for advice for your clients or anything else, AI creates content based off of the volume of content that's out there and what it can access. And the AI generated content in today's world is already far surpassing human generated content.
Yes.
So AI generated content is creating more AI generated content. So if you're relying on it for a solution and for advice for yourself and not using your own instincts and insights and lessons, it's a dangerous place to get into, especially for the reason you mentioned.
Yeah, I think we ought to be really cognizant of that and keep our critical thinking. And check other sources. When it gives you a source, go check it. Go check some other sources. Make sure you're in agreement with its idea about it.
So Mary, we spoke a little bit about fear earlier, right? I think fear is one of the roadblocks to people starting to use AI, and understandably so in some reasons. What specific techniques, drawing from NLP, can leaders use to proactively manage uncertainty and fear introduced by AI and focus on opportunities rather than that fear?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The thing with the unconscious mind is we get fearful of unknowns. When we hit that singular thing where we can't predict what's going to happen, right? And that's a normal thing to keep us safe, I guess. It's a safety thing. We're hardwired for that. And we tend to put our brakes on when that shows up. Usually we have to face that and go, yeah, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. However, I can take a look at it and see what my next 2 moves could be. And I could think about the possibilities. I'll give you a metaphor that I like. I went on a river rafting trip one time. I'd never been on it. And this guy was a master of it. And he had 3 different rafts with us. And one of the things he said, the first time we were going to go over rapids, is he said, you've got to take the boat and put it directly at the rocks. Don't let it go sideways. Don't come at it this way. Because if you do, you'll flip. He said, but if you look directly at those rocks, the danger, just look right at it and point at it, you're going to see the path through the rocks and down the rapids. It'll appear to you, and it does. So if we come at it with our head in the sand, then we're going to get blindsided, I'm sure. But if you just look at it directly and go, okay, I'm up today. Today, what can I do with this? What's the shift today? How can I not only survive, but thrive in this? Not survive, thrive. Everybody's going, oh, how am I going to survive? No, how are you going to thrive in this new world? Because every one of these big changes in our culture, in our history, there's massive opportunities to thrive. No matter what level you're stepping in at. You don't have to be a billionaire. Some people go, I'm not a billionaire, I can't do it. Yeah, you can. You can. There's going to be niches for you to get into and to maybe become a millionaire or a billionaire if that's what you want to do. Or at least find a great living and a purposeful thing to be doing. So you got to wipe all that out of your brain. Move through a little bit of that unknown fear, because that's normal. It's really normal.
Yeah, we all have fears, big and small, right? And one sure way to make those fears grow is by not addressing them and tackling them head on. But you take a fear head on, and more often than not, it's a lot less challenging, or is a lot less fearful.
Kid, and you think there's a scary boogeyman, in the closet or under your bed, but then your dad shows the light in there, and you go, that's just my old toy over there. I wasn't even the big boogeyman. Our imagination's much bigger than the reality.
Mary, your insights into psychological performance, business resilience, and the power of human connection are truly inspiring. To conclude, based on your philosophy of seeing the opportunities in any situation and helping high performers overcome their inner roadblocks, what's the single most important piece of advice that you'd leave with our audience who are striving to achieve sustainable success and impact?
Is to quit looking outside of yourself and trying to fix things on the outside. Look inside of you and find your most confident, resourceful, and creative state and anchor that. I know what anchoring is when you're in a high state, to just kind of anchor. You can anchor it with music, or you can touch something on your body or put your fingers together, but keep anchoring those kind of positive states. Because when you're in a positive state, the ideas flow. When you get negative, they don't. When you get into a negative state, you're done. So the more you can pump yourself up, and I don't care how you do it with music, do it with physiology. Think of times when you were super killing it, and anchor that and stack another one of those and stack another one of those and get yourself into that state. The ideas will start to pop for you. And really, that's what I do. I don't get up every day feeling great. I'm like everybody else. Some days I go, ooh, oh, ah. And then I go, oh, I've got clients. I'm going to get myself in the right state to be with my clients. So that was the big thing in NLP that I learned, was I can control that. Now, I'm not always in a positive state. I don't walk on water. But when I get in a negative state, I can change it. That's the difference. I know how to change that and get out of it quickly. And when you learn that, then any situation that shows up, you can do that. Like you're going to walk into a meeting. Put yourself in a good state. Walk in confidently. Be there with it. If you're going to lose it later. Give yourself 90 seconds to have a pity party and then snap out of it. Tony Robbins said that at his house. We give you 90 seconds for your pity party and then, come on, snap out of it.
Mary, thank you so much for sharing your insights, your lessons, and your story with the audience today. For anyone listening who might like to connect with you to learn more about what you're doing, or perhaps even to seek out working with you, what would be the best way to find you?
The best way is just go to my website and grab your free consultation with me, because I'll give you a free session to find out if it's, I do it on purpose because I want to know if we're the right fit for each other. And so if you'd love to work with me and you want to just test me out a little bit, come to MaryLigonCO.com or MaryLigonCompany.com. gmail.com and contact me. You can even text me.
Thanks again for joining us on The Growth Shift today.
Thanks for having me, David. I'm really having a lot of fun, and I love working with you. You're great. Thank you.
Another powerful conversation on The Growth Shift. If you, like our guests, are ready to turn your expertise into a predictable, scalable growth engine, one that eliminates the grind of prospecting and enhances your high-value relationships, then it's time to connect with Valentix. We are not a marketing agency. We are your strategic growth partner, building intelligent systems that ensure your client acquisition is predictable, not dependent on chance. To see how our AI-powered frameworks can free up your time and fill your calendar with decision makers, visit valentix.io. Thank you for joining us on The Growth Shift. We'll see you next time.